everyone, Luna from LunaEnchanted.com. I wanted to jump on today and do a quick video about the elements found on a witch's altar. Well, specifically the 4 main elements that are found on the witch's altar. There are 5. We have earth, air, fire, water, and spirit is the 5th element, which is usually represented by God and goddess or deity. But for today, we're going to talk about those 4 first elements: earth, air, fire, and water. So the first one up that we're going to talk about is air. So air's symbol, and there's actually a symbol for all of them, and an elemental for all of them. So their symbol for air, which resides in the east. Air, you see the triangle with the line going through it, facing up. This is the symbol for air. Air resides in the east, and it's represented by the elemental of the sylph. Now, a sylph is like a mythological creature. So you're not going to really find a statue necessarily of a sylph. You could draw a picture of what you think it might look like, but you could also use a statue of a fairy, let's say, to represent that energy, or you could also use a yellow candle. The reason you'd use a fairy is because it has wings, hence the air, because it's airy-like. Or you could burn incense and have incense represented as well, because incense wafts into the air and that has that elemental feel. The next element up is fire, and fire resides in the south. So if you see fire here, it's represented by the triangle facing, upward. This time it has no line. So fire resides in the south, and it can be represented by a candle, specifically usually a red candle, but any candle can also be that representation. The elemental associated with fire is a salamander, which is basically a lizard. So like if you wanted to use like a little lizard statue or representation of a lizard, that could go in that corner as well. So next up after that is water, and water resides in the west. And water has the triangle facing downward, and this has no line on it. That's the symbol. And water's in the west. You could use a blue candle as well. You could put a goblet of water. You could put a little dish of water, and that would represent it as well on the altar. And the elemental associated with water is an undine or a merperson or a mermaid. And you could use a statue of a mermaid if you wanted to put in that corner as well. And then finally, the final element on the altar we're going to talk about today is earth. So earth has the triangle facing down, and it has that line going through it. That's the symbol itself, and earth resides in the north. And an earth elemental would be a gnome, so you could put a little statue of a gnome, which sometimes you'll find on one of my altars. And you could also use a green candle for that as well. So if you wanted to use candles, you could use, again, to recap, yellow for air, right? You could use red for south, which is fire. You could use blue for water, which would be in the west. And then you could use green for the north element, which is in the, which is earth, excuse me. And so you can do that. You could also use the representations of those elements, or you could use, like for earth, for instance, which you could use salt or a crystal to be in that element, where air we used incense, and south for fire we used a candle, and west we used water or maybe a blue candle. So you see, you can have different representations to put on your altar for each of those. And you can actually make individual altars to put in the quarters. Sometimes when you see someone cast a circle or do a spell or witchcraft, when they're casting a circle, they'll have different representations in each of the 4 quarters for those elements, or they'll just have them on the altar itself. You can do what you like, see how you feel. If it feels right to you, try it out, and it may work. So that's it, just a quick little recap about elements. People are often asking me what to use for the elements to represent an altar. I just wanted to give you a little quick version of what I do and what they mean. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.